when it's done, I'll hit
Oh yeah.
record. You'll hear it. It's
It's yeah, okay. It says YouTube, yes.
yeah, it's half done. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to when it's done, I'll hit record.
So is anybody still unmuted? I think Sharon, you're unmuted. So if you just mute yourself, that'd be great. Thank you. So welcome everyone. Um, this poem came out of one of those waves of introspection things. And so I was looking at the whole idea of that looking. And so this literally came about 2 minutes before the call. But it was just exactly right. And I love the way that the divine kind of has its own timing, you know, not necessarily when I want a poem to come, but this is what happened. So it's called A Time to Look. There is a time to laugh, and there's a time to look. There's a time when the answer isn't in the book. Sometimes we do need to self-scrutinize to make sure we're not bypassing or telling ourselves lies. Most of the time we can drop our thoughting, except if an ancient pattern needs sorting. Otherwise, we can catch ourselves coasting and are asleep to the perceptions we are hosting. If contraction arises, then we need to take a peek. Self-honesty is vital and keeps us meek. It's our most essential utility, this innocent humility. So I just invite us all to just close our eyes. You can have, you can, in your own time, you can open them, look at the poem again and close your eyes. And just sit quietly with that truth and see what you make of it. I'm just going to open my window. It'll be a moment. And then I'm just going to read it one more time. There is a time to laugh, and there's a time to look. There's a time when the answer isn't in the book. Sometimes we do need to self-scrutinize to make sure we're not bypassing or telling ourselves lies. Most of the time we can drop our thoughting, except if an ancient pattern needs sorting. Otherwise, we can catch ourselves coasting and are asleep to the perceptions we are hosting. If contraction arises, then we need to take a peek. Self-honesty is vital and keeps us meek. It's our most essential utility, this innocent humility. Thank you, Joni. We'll take that down now. Thank you. And I'd just be interested to hear from anyone. But just before I do that, I think that a lot of times I used to get very confused. Well, not very confused, just a bit confused by the truth that I'd really always followed and found and expressed and shared, if you like, was thoughtlessness. Because I mean, I like a lot of people here sort of went through different types of Christianity, Buddhism, Zen, Taoism, and all that kind of thing. And the thing that came to mean the most to me was just that one truth of not listening to thinking, not listening to thought, not listening to the thought chains, because 99% of it was garbage, and to cultivate um, a still thoughtless mind until that became my nature, until I found my nature to cultivate. It sounds forced, but it's the way of the teaching, and then eventually it took over and became a silence that I sort of mainly lived in. But then, of course, every so often, things would come up that would be really old patterns or ways of behaving that I hadn't kind of looked at. So I remember thinking, well, this is confusing now, because I don't want to just live my life as like spiritually bypassing, and which means that I'm using spirituality to spiritualize everything and not really looking at any particular patterns or thought patterns that arise quite a bit, because it was another way of just not really getting into fear and examining that. And I didn't want to laugh it off. I didn't want to technique it off, just really get into it. And sometimes, I wonder how much not only me is doing it, but how other people are doing that. How they see this. To me, it really is crucial to not disguise things to ourselves, and which we really can do if we use too if we learn too many tools or get too married to books things, and things. And so that basically, I just wondered what everybody else. I've just found that I go to a greater depth when I've had a wave of that introspection, and then it drops away. So any wants to say, that would be great. Oh, I tell you what was confusing me there. I've got a note saying there's a hand up, and then I can see your hand up is Joni. Is your hand up? Yes, it is.
Yes, and then Lynn and then Rafi.
Perfect.
Uh,
You go ahead, Joni. Yeah, thank you.
what I appreciate about this poem is, as I discovered an ancient pattern when the latest blow up or situation, which really got my attention in the world, and my judgments, of course, my ego speaks first and loudest, but I let it rant, and then I called a few people, and then I sat with it. And I realized when I really took that to Holy Spirit, it's like, this is happening again. And I saw this pattern. It really boiled down to, which thought system am I listening to? And all the ways I block it and distract myself from the present moment. And so when I did sit, and I'm still sitting with it, I got, it's only love or fear. Which one are you going to choose? And sitting in the mystery of that, not knowing what's next, has brought me closer to the present moment and feeling the curiosity that I never was willing to look at when I was so distracted with my patterns, my judgments, my control. Pass.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Yeah. So hang on, I'm not going to let it ride there. You carry on, Joni. I mean, do you feel that you've ever used the spiritual truths, the reality, to kind of block a bit the feelings that you felt inside? And this is a question for everybody. It's not just for you, but I'm carrying on with what you're saying.
Yeah, I I'm a master degree educated liked to do everything by the rules, memorize everything, and intellectualize everything. And that distracted me from the work that I wasn't willing to do because I valued that. I valued knowing a lot, being able to repeat it, knowing a lot so people would like me, knowing a lot so I could get a little job. And this last blow up has forced, I had nowhere else to go. I mean, I could complain and my friends would snap me out of it, but nobody holds the knowing of what to do with that belief except me, silence, and God. And
Beautiful.
it can come when I'm washing dishes. It comes in the morning. But this is what I've not wanted to do for 70 years is look at my thoughts only thought by thought, only with God. And I make an altar out of a lot of things, but money and knowing and degrees and architecture and, skills and memorization and books and outer teachers. I make a lot of altars except silence.
Mm.
But I'm getting better. I'm
Oh,
not, I'm not a victim.
so beautifully said. Snap. Beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you, Joni. I muted myself. Hi, Lynn. Yes, carry on.
Okay. All right. Thank you. But this is a great topic, and thank you so much for this particular poem. And at this time, in our groups, one of the things that we've been studying is nonviolent communication, which, I know a lot of people know about, but I think a lot of people don't know that the basis of nonviolent communication is the knowing the truth of who I am and knowing the truth of who my brother is. That you bring yourself to a place where you're actually able to see uh, see without judgment and listen without any kind of uh, evaluation of what is being said. You just listen and recognize that this is the Christ. He doesn't say that. Marshall doesn't say that, but he also studied A Course in Miracles, and I think a lot of there. And he also studied with Carl Rogers, who Bill Thetford also studied with. So the whole idea of this um, unconditional positive regard that is looking at my brother as the Christ and seeing him without judgment uh, makes me able to have uh, authentic and honest conversations that can heal the both of us. But the basis of it really is going into my belief about myself, my beliefs about myself and my own self-worth, because that's what's being reflected and projected into the world that I see. And so there's another technique or technology called Choose Again that a friend of mine, Diedrich Walsack, had developed using the work of attitudinal healing from Jerry Jampolsky. And the Choose Again work takes you right to the core. When I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling lonely. It takes you to the core of what is the basis of your belief that you can be lonely? What is the basis of your belief in loneliness? You know, because until I can come to that and recognize that the only reason I feel lonely is because I've disconnected myself from my source, and that the only way to become not lonely is to reconnect, that is what brings about this shift. So, it, you just don't look at the behavior, the thing that the person is saying or doing. You look at, what does this say about me? And what is going on in me that is giving me these ideas or these thoughts? these judgments, these fears, these upsets, this, mental unrest, whatever. What is it that is inside me that is allowing that to happen? So it's the spiritual practice, you can practice forgiveness till the sun goes down, and I forgive you what you didn't do, whatever the Course of Miracles, whatever thing you do, but until you work on what is it in me that made me think that was happening? What is it in me that gave me the idea that there was something wrong in the world? What is it in me that made me suspect your motives? Whatever it is, it all comes back to me. So that's what I do. I always question these thoughts, and the question is always, uh, like Byron Katie, where would I be without this story? It really is. I mean, there's all these techniques. You're right. The work, the release, the all these different techniques that you can use. But unless you use that technique to look within and see what it is in you that's making that happen, it's not going to change. You're going to have the same story over and over and over again because you haven't moved. Anyway, that's
No,
my thought.
absolutely. You're talking about self-inquiry. Self-inquiry, to me, the deepest question is who is the one that's feeling it? Where is it? Because you can't find it. Actually, Ramana Maharshi didn't actually enlighten a lot of people by the question who, but more like what is it that is feeling it, or where is it? But for me, where, because I can't find that person when I look, and that shows me immediately this is ego here.
Mhm.
So absolutely, Lynn. Yeah, perfect, lovely. Thank you so much. Yes, Rafi.
Yeah, a bunch of things in the poem jumped out at me. First of all, I'd just like to reflect on what you just said about who and what. Lester Levinson did the same thing. He said, who kind of personalizes it? What? There's no personal, it's not personal. And but the parts of the poem that jumped out at me were the ones that reminded me about suppression, distracting from the now, from the moment, from whatever I'm feeling. And the other one was contraction. That word contraction jumped off the page at me because when there is something that comes up that needs to be released, I feel a contraction in my gut right away. And I know immediately it's a non loving feeling that came up to be released. I get in touch with it, find out what the want is, and get to the source of it, and then just allow it to go and not fight with it, not suppress it, not distract from it, welcome it completely. And that keeps me totally in the now. And as soon as all of that stuff goes away, then I'm once again the quiet, that peace, that silence that is not only reveals the truth, it is the truth. So it's just so great. As I was reading this stuff was just jumping off the page at me. And I thought, wow, Mandy, you nailed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really mean this the way it sounds. I don't think nail anything. I mean, I know what you mean. It's just that it's so funny the way these poems come because I thought, oh gosh, the week's got on. I haven't got one yet. Nothing's happened yet, and I've had quite a lot of realizations this week. There's been I've had a like we all have. You have weeks of sort of deepening and other weeks where you're just getting on. And then there's some of the deepening, and it was one of those deepening things, and I thought, well, I don't know how to write about that, and I don't know how to write about this. And then, I hit one of my own shadows because this spiritual bypassing thing, I know it's ever such a trendy word, but it's ever such a good phrase because um, it's very, it's a very hazy thing. It really, really is because you get to a point where you're so steeped in the truth that every kind of thing that might come up for you, it can be translated back into into truth. You can see that. I'm trying to think of an example. Just God, I just can't think. Just when you're looking for one, anyway. But you know, it's just something where you can see that it's like, let's say, well, this is perfect. This is perfect. I know this looks unpleasant. It needs dealing with, but I can also totally see the perfection in it. And you can't help seeing the perfection in it because you know that everything's for you. You know that truth, everything's for you. You know that it's all God. You know, or I know, you know, there's no good or bad, there's just is. But there's something missing because I'm still in contraction. Now, what is it? It's nothing to do with anybody else. It's nothing to do with it. There is no outside. I know that. But what is it? And then I would uncover there's something here that I've coasted. I've used truth rather than demonstrated it, experienced it in this particular thing. And then I just turn that over to the God, the I amness, the I, and I just say, just really please show me what am I missing here? Because I've got all the truths, they're all set out, but I don't know what it is. And then it would come, I would be shown, and it was something, and I'd be, oh my goodness, I didn't realize. And that is something so basic. I thought I would have got this like so long ago, and I've missed it. And that's why the end of it just says that, it's coming back to meekness, humility, no matter what we've read, how many experiences we've had, whether we've seen angels or not seen angels, been with Jesus or not, been on the mountains of Olympus or been in the Himalayas, what keeps you humble is that which you miss, and then you can't, it's undeniable because of that contraction. And so that's what I found so very interesting this week. And it took all week to form it into that one poem that I was only given at the end when I I was given it literally when I saw through my own coasting, you know. So that's why I'm really interested to hear anybody else's experience of that when they know they have done that. Yes, Rafi.
I get into the situations you just described. The first thing I go to is, can I let go of wanting to figure this out? Can I
No,
let go of wanting
no,
to
no,
know
I'm not
what
going
the
to let you
answer is?
do that this week. I'm not going to let you do that, Rafi. No, because
Because there's no point in asking the mind for an answer it doesn't have, because the mind hasn't got a clue as to what I am. And as soon as then what happened with what happened with you, it just comes to you, is the perfect example of how perfectly it works. If you get the hell out of the way, if you get your mind out of the way, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. What a great reminder.
I hear you, Rafi. I heard every word you said. I also think that I have used just that to also bypass. I have, I've thought I've let something go, but you see, I, I just can't say. I mean, the poem is really about the fact that, yes, for the most part, it's the garbage in the mind. Because the mind is constantly a judge. That's all it is. It's constantly making dramas. So for the most part, we can ignore it, definitely. But it also has a purpose. And sometimes that is about really you have to get underneath it and think, what has even caused me to recreate that construction? And why does it come up again and again? It might not come up very often, and that's the trick. It might only come up every 3 or 4 years, and you don't know when it's going to come up. But if I don't unearth the pattern, I'm not going to get it, you see. So that's why I don't always just go to release. I hear you. For the most part, I agree with you, Rafi, but not 100%. There's if I feel that contraction, I've just not looked deeply. Yeah, yes, Joni. Yeah.
Um, I'll, I just want to to reiterate, for me, this, I think what you said was, when this blow up happened recently in the last month, it was so large and repetitive. It wasn't until I removed myself from as much as I could and ask and keep asking, what is this for? Because it's coming up again. I can't release it because I know it's going to come up. And when I saw this pattern of judgment and chasing and altars and distractions from the time I was the oldest to marriage, to school, to work, when I saw this pattern to speakeasy, it seemed like, okay, yeah, okay, there's the pattern. Thank you. I can see that because I've lived long enough to see the decades of pattern. But it was when I was humbled in the quiet that it said, point towards God, point towards the silence, be curious in the mystery. Can you do that? I'm here. That was so scary. I used the distractions. I used the ancient patterns to avoid sitting with the mystery. And it's still scary, don't get me wrong, but I'm practicing it because I know the lessons, I know the truth, but the experience has to feel expansive instead of fearful. I'm victim, I can't do this, to I can do anything. I know who I am because I'm walking beside the energies of that creates worlds.
Beautiful.
And then thank you, mirror. Thank you, stage. Thank you, actors, master teachers, for helping me to go to where the answers are, not in finding it in a book, not in. Now I've done the work twice last week. I've called Lynn 10 times. I've done all these things. I've even used Chat GPT, but ultimately, I had to sit, and I am at 70 still allergic to silence. It's not my favorite thing to do, but when I started to feel the expansion, when I started to feel, oh, maybe this is what truth feels like, and not have to see a form or know how it's going to end or use anything on the chairs of the Titanic to distract me. I felt something I've never experienced. The practical applications of is-ness is frickin' my only business.
That's so beautiful, beautiful. I applaud you, Joni, for that. Yeah, this is the thing. There are tools, honestly, that are just the most brilliant and fantastic. I use them, everybody uses them, but sometimes you have to go that bit further. You just have to get underneath all that humanness on your own, unaided, and you have, and it is, particularly the first few times you do that, when you're unused to it, it's very, very brave, because we all have to navigate the unknown, actually not navigate it, because we're directed, so we have to actually learn to let us be navigated, you know what I mean? And you are superb, lovely, thank you. Yes, Lynn. Yeah.
All right, this is beautiful. I love it. And thank you, Joni, for your transparency and your honesty. And yeah, exactly. Whenever something this pattern comes up, this thing happened, what am I feeling first off? Am I feeling, guilty, disappointed in myself, disappointed in others, afraid? I look at all these feelings, and, I have to ask myself, what is the cause of me? Why do I have this feeling about myself? this feeling I'm inadequate, which is really not a feeling at all. It's an accusation that I'm inadequate. It's this thought that I'm incapable of doing what I need to do or want to do, or that nobody can ever really love me because I'm not lovable. All sorts of reasons inside that in my mind that I don't really think about when I, feel like, somebody's saying something that I don't like, or they're rejecting my belief or whatever it is. I don't think, what does this say about me and how I feel about myself? And where does that reside in me? Because if I don't clear up, and remind myself or remember and know that I am whole, I am capable, I have, everything I need. All the tools are here at my disposal to fulfill the function that I'm here to fulfill. Everything has already been given to me. I already have it. I'm not lacking in anything. So all these thoughts that I have about myself being inadequate or lacking or missing something, um, all of those are based on stories that my mother told me, the school told me, the priest told me, you know whomever gave me these beliefs about myself. Until I can shift those beliefs about myself, I'm always going to be the person who's the victim. I'm always going to be the person who gets run over, ignored, all these different things that I'm experiencing, thinking that it's somebody else not doing what they're supposed to be doing, not even recognizing that it's my own thoughts about myself that put me in a situation where I am open to be disliked or discarded or disapproved of, or any of those things that I think is happening. It's all me. That's the thing, and I think Joni and I've talked about this quite a bit. If I had a full feeling and belief and knowing of myself as a Christ, there is no way that anybody could send me an email or a letter or say anything to me that would disturb my peace in any way at all. If I'm completely whole in myself and complete in myself, there is no way I can look at the news and get upset, because I know myself what's real. It's these suspicions that we have about ourselves and beliefs that we have about ourselves that keep us going back into that place of I'm not enough, I'm a victim, I'm small, I don't have what it takes. Whatever those thoughts that I have, it's all just a story. Anyway, I've talked enough. It just it, just the point being that unless you look at that, it will come back again. If something happened in today, you're going to join another group. You're going to think I'm doing it to you. You're going to think other people are doing it to you, because you're looking for that kind of activity in other people in the world,
Absolutely.
because you're expecting you're going to receive that because you think you deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. And really, as spiritual warriors, which we all are, you have to kind of happily ride the rough with the smooth. And actually, I don't even use those terms because I don't, and I'm sure you're the same. I don't tend to use good, bad, rough, smooth. These are all mental things, because it's always categorizing. But there are times where some feel incredibly sort of happy, frivolous, jolly, and other times, obviously, that have got a bit of a heavier vibration and don't feel like that. And and they're all perfect, but they all do need a bit of self-examination. I think where I caught myself spiritually bypassing was just kind of not listening to anything the mind had to say. Well, it's not really, this is the difference. It's quite a subtle difference. Most of the time I would say, yeah, don't listen to the mind. It's just all drama. That's all it is. It's just a drama thing, queen, king. And that's true. But when a question arises for us that pierces like a sword, that because the downwards of the wave, that if sad, if you like, because we have to call it a word, a sad wave, depressing wave, lonely wave, whatever it is, if that's predominant and it keeps being there, for more than a few minutes, if it goes on for hours or days, uh, then the thought the thought we're using to unearth that is not an ego thought. It's not a normal mental thought, the rubbish kind. It's a heavenly spear to get underneath. Do you know what I mean, Lynn? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
It is, isn't it? So
yeah.
there's a difference, isn't there, between we can definitely disregard most of the mind, which, as you say, Rafi, quite rightly, is to do with control, insecurity, and all those things. But then, and those ones, yes, I would use those tools there for that. But the thing is, we have to discern when we get one of these holy spears, don't we? So that we can earth something that we kind of not really looking at because we spiritualize it again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just waiting for you, Lynn.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely know
Yeah,
exactly what you
yeah,
mean. Yeah,
yeah.
because yeah, that's uh I mean that's the actual work that I have to do, the actual work that I have to do. The rest of it, yeah, that'll make me feel better for a minute or two. But until I actually do the actual work of looking at, with that holy spear, where is it? Where is this thing that's holding me back? Um, and I think, it really uh it's not it can be very painful, and it has been very painful, and I am sure you've done this kind of work as well. There's times that I have just sat here just writing out all these things that I was looking at from my childhood, my upbringing, whatever, situations, just writing these things and just sitting here just you know forgiving and weeping and weeping and weeping. Just because I'm looking at all these how these things that happened in the past, how I took them inwardly and made them into uh, uh, some kind of a story about me, and all of those things that I took in and made into a story about me were came from somewhere else, didn't come from the holy mind of God, came from the beliefs that the world taught me, this church, my mom, whatever, friends at school, other people. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of influence that uh, helped to make or build this person that I think that I am. And this person that I think that I am, it can only be uh, a false persona. And so to reach down beyond all those stories and ideas and get to the the bone, the reality of what I am, that's the real work that I have to do. It isn't, I mean, it's great if I can feel better all day. I can take a Xanax and do that. I can I could smoke a joint and do that, but that's not going to change how I'm feeling inwardly and what I'm thinking inwardly and how I perceive myself. And so that opening up of that self-perception to, to actually and actually digging into, where did that come from and get it out of here because it isn't me. It
Yeah,
isn't me. Anyway,
great. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, Lynn. Thank you so much. Joanne, yeah. Hi.
Hi. I don't even know why I raised my hand. I'm listening to all of you, and I'm having such a time. I turned 84 this year, and I just feel sick all the time. I feel, and I know there's an answer here. I've been doing the course for a long time, ever since I read Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love. And I'm missing something somewhere, and I'm listening to you, and I'm knowing I'm missing something, and just can't get it. And I just had to voice that. For what reason, I don't know.
Well, I know, because I had my eye on you. I just had my eye on you, and I just thought, I don't know why. Uh, you know something, Joanne, the longer we're all in this feeling that we're all one, we hear that, don't we? And
Yeah.
intellectually we know it because we can't disagree with it. We know it, we've learned why, blah, blah, blah. But the more that you get into this stuff, I think you have a knowing, and you all feel together. You're all facets of the same diamond. There's no one that knows anything more. It's like a tennis match. Lynn will catch the ball, then Rafi will catch the ball, then I catch the ball. And do you know what I mean? And then we have, so nobody, one person's got the truth. It's a whole truth. Now, the thing that poem is sort of addressing is not just the Course in Miracles book. It's all books, because because that book is one of the wisest books I've ever read, Course in Miracles. I mean, hands down, it just is. But I've also read equally wonderful, wise books. And the thing about wisdom like that is you can't argue with it. But ultimately, you have to do your own thing aside from the book, because the book is a bit like training wheels, which we never get off, if we just stick to that. So you are not, the first thing is, the whole of you cannot be missing anything. That's just another thought. That is just another thought. just
So,
just just let that sink in. That is just another thought. I'm missing something. No, you're not. You can't possibly be. So let that cheer your heart, because that's really true. You aren't missing anything. You are, like all of us here, on this path of exploration, like in Star Trek. We're all been landed on this planet human, and we've all got our different heavenly swords that come down every so often. So most of it, is the mind making dramas and telling you, like, you are either free or you're not free, you're liberated or not free. Everybody else has got it, but not me. These are all thoughts, and it's just complete. That's the rubbish stuff, because the mind just judges all the time. But the your willingness just to be here, to participate, not just in this, but to participate, to love God that is invisible. I mean, how amazing are we that we love what's not visible? We take God's word for it every moment. And right there is the struggle. That's, because the mind comes in with all this stuff all the time, to try and hide the invisible, I can just tell you, because we can all read each other's hearts here, and you ain't missing anything, because you've got a really loving heart, haven't you? You have got a really loving heart. So what could possibly missing there? But what might be happening is that you've got some fear somewhere that you just need to have a look at in the way we've been talking about. Imagine that you've got God's goggles on. So we're not using the mind to do this. This is a subtle difference that we're making. We're not using the thoughts to try and work it out. We really are asking God, that divine presence.
How long are you going to be?
so
Don't worry, I'm nearly finished. You're asking that divine presence to hold your hand and show you whatever you need to be shown. That's all. You don't need to find what it is, but you can just say, I have this thought. I know it's just a thought. It feels like I'm missing something. There's some fear there. Can you just show me? And then you leave it alone. You don't have to search for it. It's not up to you. Yeah. And it's just a thought that you're missing something. I don't know how that strikes you, all that. What do you think?
It resonates.
As
It
long as
does.
it resonates, that's good.
Yeah. It's just a matter of calming myself down and doing it, you know?
Yeah,
That it
but
resonates.
that you're giving yourself work again and effort. You don't need to do that. You you just do it when it happens. In other words, we can't decide. This is the human thing. We can't decide, right, I'm going to write down all my misdemeanors and try and go through it with a fine tooth comb and find. You can't do it because it's not now. You can only work with now. So let's say you're at someone's house, everybody's around you, you should be happy, you think, but oh God, you've got this intense feeling of anxiety or fear or loneliness, even amidst all these people. Right then and there, just pull yourself away. You can appear to be there and just think, okay, I'm ready. What is that? Or go to the toilet, ask, what is that? And your willingness to ask, you will be given the answer, but it comes in the moment, you see. You don't have to worry about having to work at it. No.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Yes, Vince. Yeah. Hi, Vince.
Hi. I was just thinking, I'm not sure if this is related, but what came to me was that we spend a lot of time noticing the things from that come from fear, and we mull them over. We try to fix them, and what we don't spend a lot of time thinking about is how many the millions of things or acts of faith we just naturally do on a daily basis. All these messages that get through,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, we notice them, we get them, and they just automatically get absorbed into our daily routines. And then we still, we stew about the times that it doesn't.
I thank you so much because with my friend Adrian this morning, we had exactly word for word, Vince, that conversation because we were talking about ego and about all this, what we've been talking about so far. And I said to him, but you know what? We gloss over and conveniently forget. It's all the amazing, wonderful things that we've done. And we just gloss over. There's lots of things we've done that we wouldn't ever tell anybody because we don't need to tell them. It's just our private thing that we've done something for somebody and it meant a lot to them. Or we've done countless wonderful things, far more than any of the misdemeanors, and even if it's just a smile that you've left on somebody else's face. And we never take notice of that because as spiritual people, we often think, oh, yes, but that would be pride, that would be ego, and we almost dare not write those things down or look at them. But I really thank you for bringing that up because that is so true that the other side of the shadow is that all the light there's all the light here. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, Joni.
Thanks. What Joanne was talking about with pain, physical pain, um, whenever something happens uh, to my car, my house, my bank account, or my body, it is just an indicator. And I could, um, you know, write, journal, go to, and I often do, to all those processes. But it's when I really love it by holding it, by sitting with it, for as long as it takes for it to speak to me. Again, I'm allergic to silence a little bit. I'm getting better, So I know that if I sit as long as I can, if I don't get something, I had one friend say, ask for real clear indication. And I called her this yesterday. I said, I got an email from somebody I didn't know and was on the subject. Do you think that was a real clear indication? But what I'm trying to say is the symptoms will subside. When I've given it, my experiences, sometimes I'm rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. Like, remember in the movie, you saw the musicians singing as the boat's going down? I don't remember exactly if they all drowned or if they got a boat later, but I noticed there were those that were panicking, those that were resigned, and there was those who lived in the moment in peace, playing their instruments. It isn't a matter. I know I'm not going to live forever. It's not, my goal isn't to be pain-free or to not experience ego unwanted. My goal is to get to peace and to understand that the trigger, as Dove says, is for me. There's a message that's only for me as I'm walking through my journey. And I used to think if I was a good student, that my spiritual journey would go like smooth like this to God, right? But in reality, it goes like this, all over the place. So I'm not even worried anymore if I don't get it. I'll get an indicator back. I'll get a reflection back of what the curiosity. The course does say it only takes a little willingness. It doesn't say take a willingness to do the lessons. It doesn't say take a willingness to call 15 people. It says to be willing to stop and pause, to breathe. And that's the experience that feels like expansion to me instead of the hair on fire running around using every alter and excuse and distraction, which I'm really good at, or I used to be. Thanks.
Oh, that was so beautifully put. And also just remember that the thing, as you repeat it, I'm not good at silence. What is that, Joni? It's just another thought,
That's
isn't
the
it?
ego. Yeah, I'm
Don't
working on
call it the ego. It's just another thought.
Yeah.
It's just a thought. I'm not good at silence. That's a thought.
Yeah, I knew it. I couldn't suck it back in.
Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left before we're going to end with the poem. But it doesn't matter that this is being recorded because I just say I had the whole of doing these what we're doing, whatever we're doing. For me, I've just been guided by spirit all the time. And then I had some really clear guidance. And there was a few signs really that coincided. I just felt that because also it's getting more difficult both for me and for Joni to just have this time. So that was a concern as well. But I just felt that this phase of this has come to an end, basically. So it's going to come back almost certainly, but in a maybe different kind of format and doing something different. And I'm not quite sure, and I'm not going to think it. I'm just going to wait to be given it. But there was just some other things, and it was just interesting that when I was thinking this, you know how this happens, you get signs. Like last week, before we even started the call, me and Joni were literally on different Zooms. It was very difficult to sort that out. We had a lot of difficulties at the beginning. Not Joni's fault or mine. We had different meeting numbers and it just, oh God, it took ages. And then we thought, shall we write to everybody and get them onto this meeting? And then So there was a bit of kerfuffle at the beginning, and then at the end, of course, if you remember, there was two rather naughty boys came on and started to try and disrupt everything, and then there was this third thing that was that usually I'm just the poem sort of happens very easily. It just comes, and it just didn't come. And this all coincided with me having one of these things like we all get from time to time where we just suddenly have a great deepening. You know, this happens all our lives when we're involved in this. We go on a certain way and then we have another sort of expansion and deepening. So, guys, I do hope that you will come back to whatever we do, probably in the autumn, but it may be different from this, you see. So we're having a break, and this is the last one today, and I'll miss you terribly. And I know it'll get to next Monday, and I'll think, oh no, I'm missing everybody. But I just want to thank you so much for doing this and coming. I mean, I know it's not just for me because we all love to see each other, and I'm just so grateful, and I'm so grateful to Joni, who's just been amazing, done everything, you know, fantastic, and for Lynn as well, who's been promoting it and helping us with everything, and so and just so grateful to you two and to everybody here. So thank you very much, and we will meet again. Just it might be a different sort of thing. And if anybody wants to send me an email or say anything about how it's been or anything or what you'd like to see or anything, I don't know, anything. It'd be lovely to hear from you. So we're just going to finish with this. Okay. Would anybody like to read this? Somebody else? I can't see everybody, Journey. I don't know about if you can see everybody. Maybe somebody's got their hand up. Oh, Lynn's got a hand up. Right, Lynn. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And of course, you know that we still have all of our groups going on Gather, and people are definitely welcome to come in at any time, any of our groups. If you go to acimgather.us, you can see our schedule, and you can join us on Zoom meetings because the link is right there. So acimgather.us.
Oh, that's good. Thank
Gather
you.
us.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, can I just say one more? I'm sorry, this is a bit
Yes,
of
ma'am.
just to say that if anybody at any time, I do these kind of one-to-one sessions, so anybody can email me if they you know want one of those. So and I've got a website that just sort of you know says about how much it costs. But to be honest, if people can't afford it, that's fine as well. You know, you can just email me. So I just thought I'd say that. Yeah. Right. Please carry on. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. A Time to Look by Mandi Solk. There is a time to laugh and there is a time to look. There's time when the answer isn't in the book. Sometimes we do need to self-scrutinize to make sure we're not bypassing or telling ourselves lies. Most of the time we can drop our thoughting, except if an ancient pattern needs sorting. Otherwise, we can catch ourselves coasting and are asleep to the perceptions we are hosting. If contraction arises, then we need to take a peek. Self-honesty is vital and keeps us meek. It's our most essential utility, this innocent humility.
Oh, beautifully read. Thank you so much.
Oh, sweet. I love it.
Oh, mercifully short, that one. Oh, we can all unmute and say goodbye and things. Goodbye. I love you all.
Goodbye.
So
Thank
much.
you.
Goodbye.